SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
We will continue with the historic areas and heritage zone, what we have been discussing about the legal implications that under the Town and Country Planning Act. So, Model Regional Town and Country Planning Development Law 1985, which gave the 3 steps we have already discussed: the existing land use map, outline development plan, and a detailed scheme. We have been talking about that how under the detailed scheme the special areas can be designated, which can be an heritage area which is of a significant value, and under that. So, in case of Bhubaneswar, what has been done is that this special area, especially the old Bhubaneswar, what we have seen those bubbles, that has been designated as a special heritage zone, and it has been incorporated as a part of the comprehensive development plan for Bhubaneswar. What is the implication is that not only it has a legal sanction and but also it will have a special laws or bylaws which will be applicable for only for that area. That bubbles or the Amesar Act, which also will be there, but that has to be integrated. So, Amesar Act says that there has to be a special bylaws for that area. So, these bylaws and the bylaws under the comprehensive development plan has to sort of has some synchronization together. As part of the comprehensive development plan, the designation has been done and certain sort of a guidelines has been there, which has to be further specified into the specific bylaws for that area. Not only the old city or the old core of Bhubaneswar, as we can see that this is what is the overlapping happening, but this will be treated as a special area. And so that it is not only this bubble, but also in Bhubaneswar there is not only the old city, old core town of old Bhubaneswar, but there are other heritage areas which also are of a different nature, archaeological ruins or sacred areas. They also have been incorporated and designated in the development plan as designated as a special area. These are, as you can see, that Udayagiri, Khandagiri area which is there, which again the special bylaws have been provided for that, and this is the an archaeological site which is also have a, and this is a very much living area, and this is the Dholgiri area. So, each of these areas special bylaws has been provided for this area and incorporated along with of course, the old core which has been incorporated within the part of the comprehensive development plan, and the designation has been there. That shows that the bylaws for that area will not be at par with the rest of the city, and each of this area will have its own special bylaws. So, this is what is required. Now, let us talk about the other cities, how the special areas or heritage zones are incorporated as a part of the statutory town planning law. Let us talk about Delhi. Delhi, we know that walled city of Shahjahanabad, we have discussed earlier that it will have a special problem, it has a special problem, it has a special history which is an walled city, and so this has been also incorporated as a part of the identified by Delhi Development Authority as a special heritage zone. Nizamuddin and Humayun's tomb complex, again Nizamuddin is a living area, the Humayun's tomb complex is a World Heritage Site, and there is also a nursery, Shunda nursery, which is from a colonial area. So, all of these are important, and there are other structures also which all have been incorporated as the heritage zone and integrated way. We will talk about Nizamuddin later on, because it has really able to show us a way that how heritage and democracy can be integrated together, how the social aspects of heritage has been integrated together, that we will talk about in a separate lecture. Coming back to DDA, the Mehroli area and Qutub complex, that is also another area which has been declared as a heritage zone. The Latins Delhi, which again has a very significant of a different type of character. The Vijay Mandal, Begumpur, Lal Gumbad area, which is again a cluster of the different heritage structures, but all of them has a living area, the residential area, mixed area, commercial area, which are a part of that, and Chirag Delhi. And many of these are the Lal Dor area, the special areas which needs a lot of infrastructure development, and that is why this heritage zone have been declared by DDA. There is a designation, they designated, this is part of a statutory jurisdiction now, but what is required is that again a special bylaws have to be developed for that area, which has to be in sort of a synchronization with the National Monument Authority. What is important for Delhi is that Delhi actually was preparing for the World Heritage nomination. It is still under an heritage law, where because Delhi is a combination of a lot of cities or the different parts of Delhi, but of these the Latins Delhi which is there, the Latins Delhi which is of a special character, and the Shahjahanabad, these are mostly the experts have identified that these are the two areas which still has retained the significance of the townscape values, the street pattern, the cultural aspects, which can be designated as a World Heritage Site. So, there is a sort of a tentative plan, and as I say that it is on the tentative listing. So, that entire area was really the dossier was being prepared for declaring or putting the application for the nomination for the. But what is important for us is that not only that every area has to be the World Heritage Site, what is important is that after designating that as a heritage zone or a special zone and making it a part of the overall city plan or the development plan, the special development control regulation for each of this area has to be formulated. And that is why the heritage now becomes a part of the development. Not only we are talking about the historical site, but how the conservation and integration can go hand in hand. And this is what, that is why we need to talk about the comprehensive development plan and putting heritage as a part of that. Now, in this respect, Maharashtra Regional Town Planning Act actually become a pioneer to show us that what can be done, because it is just not designating the area. So, really it has to be implemented on the ground, it has to be made feasible with not only the no development time, but also some prescriptive measures, giving some incentives and other. So, let us see what is happening. Now, Mumbai historically it is 1860, you can see the fort area of Mumbai, which is a very much living area, and it has been changed into and there are distinct areas of Mumbai, and especially the fort of area of Mumbai, which has a special character, and it has come under a threat of change, development. It is a growing city, commercial capital of India. So, Maharashtra Regional Town Planning Act and has sort of identified some of the heritage precincts. The fourth precinct in Bombay, what you can see, there is a proposal for area conservation. People have been working for that, and this has been designated as that. But how it has been designated? It was under the Maharashtra Regional Town Planning Act 1966, a special regulation, Regulation 67 has been promulgated regarding conservation of listed building areas, artifacts, structures and precincts of historical, aesthetic, architectural or cultural value. So, this regulation becomes a statutory part of the act, and under that this so, it is not only, as I say, the Town Planning Act has the provision, but this has been a special regulation which has been specially focused on the heritage precincts and heritage areas. And according to that, it has identified 8 precincts. There may be updated also or added on to the list later on, and also there is a provision of delisting, we will talk about that. So, the fort precincts, the Opera House precinct, the Banganga precinct, Gaum Devi precinct, Mahalakshmi precinct, Kota Chiwadi precincts, and Matar Pakti pressings and Bandra pressings. Each one of this area has a special character, a special issues, special challenges, special types of activity. And like say you see Banganga area, it is actually a water body around which that there are special activities, special types of built forms. It has a different significance, a sacred significance, and so that is why each and every area has declared as a special precinct under this regulation. Now, let us say if you are talking about the heritage precincts, this under this regulation, the Maharashtra Town Planning Act gives a clear definition as a part of this regulation, which becomes a legal aspect, that what is the definition of a precinct. It says a heritage precinct is an area of a heritage value. It may consist of a number of buildings and spaces such as streets with cultural or heritage significant worth recognition and conservation, or it may be an area where the relationship between the various elements create a spatial sense of a place like mass, scale, building material, typology, roof profile and shapes, or containing an architecture style of it is a large gamut. And it has in the definition, which is very important, there should not be any ambiguity of that. It has covered different typology, different scenarios under this definition of that what can be really a heritage precincts. So, you can see that the shift is really away from the monument, and it has a larger scope for defining a heritage precinct. Precincts are of a different importance and are made up of different types of elements such as houses, trees, commercial properties and public spaces combining to create an unique significance. So, this unique significance is the major factor, and it can be contributed by the various attributes. So, what is important is to identify the attributes and signify the heritage, and as we can see in this regulation, special regulation, heritage regulation of Mumbai, we have really shifted away from the monument. There may be a monument, there may not be a monument. So, it has legally defined that what is a heritage precinct. What is the objective? Precinct deserves appropriate repair and maintenance and very sensitive development, that is regarding the mass, scale and setting. It also requires conservation of its heritage and conservation. This is exactly what is we have been looking for, that how conservation and development can be integrated together. On one side, it talks about conservation of the heritage and the cultural significance, and another side is talking about development, yes, but sensitive development. And these later on we will see that how it has been taken into the model heritage regulations for India. Mr. Shyam Chinnani, he has been very active there to do this for Mumbai. He has been very active, and then he also was very instrumental in formulating the model heritage bylaws for India. Now, again coming back to the precincts, as I say, the listing and grading is very important. We have seen in the case of Panaji. But what is the implication? So, we have seen what is the definition, we have seen what is the objective, what is the implication of that designating an heritage precinct? Restriction on development, redevelopment, repairs. No development or redevelopment or engineering operation or addition, alteration, repairs, renovation, including the painting of buildings, replacement of spatial features or demolition of the whole or any part thereof, or plastering of said listed heritage buildings or listed heritage precincts shall be allowed except with prior written permission of the commissioner. So, it is not saying that no, nothing will be allowed, it is saying that it needs a permission because it most of the time it is a private property, it needs a permission, and permission regarding what, that will be decided by case specific according to the precinct. The commissioner shall act on the advice of or in consultation with the Heritage Conservation Committee to be appointed by the government, hereinafter called the said Heritage Conservation Committee. Now, this Heritage Conservation Committee is also very important. It there also it has said that what should be the constitution of Heritage Conservation Committee. It has an advisory role, it needs some sort people who are multidisciplinary, landscape architect, heritage conservation specialist, urban designer, historian, archaeologist. So, it has clearly engineers, it has clearly specified that their experience and other thing, because this advisory committee also should know that what types of advice should come, their experience and everything. Now, what is important is that it has an advisory role, it gives advice to the commissioner. Now, commissioner, it is say that shall act on the advice by the government, the commissioner, but can also very exceptional cases for reason to be recorded in writing, the commissioner may overrule the recommendation of the Heritage Commission. So, we have seen that even in the Main Street program and other programs, they say that it has to be flexible. But what is important is that by the constitution of the Heritage Conservation Committee, by making it a legal area and making the bylaws, making the listing, what it is saying that it in exceptional cases it can be done, but it has to be written in writing. So, there is an obligation, there is a responsibility, there is a sort of one has to sort of answer that one why one is doing that. So, that becomes the crucial factor in these designating an area as a Heritage Conservation Committee and saying that what is possible and what is not possible. Now, what are the aspects which is saying? First one is the preparation of a list of heritage building and the heritage precinct. The said list of building artifacts, structures and precinct of historical and or aesthetical and for architectural or cultural value. So, we have talked about value at length. So, all types of value, the predominantly these types of value can be a part or can be a reason for declaring a heritage zone. Power to alter, modify or relax regulations. Hearing etc. to persons likely to be affected. So, it is the democracy, that the participatory part of the stakeholders. Grant of transferable development right in cases of loss of development right, TDR. TDR is a very important, that if somebody is being affected by this provision or the implementation of the law, so he has to be compensated. So, TDR becomes a very powerful tool for that. Maintaining the skyline, where the skyline is a significant feature, restrictive covenantal, repair fund and grading of the listed buildings and the listed brick. So, there is a fund which is there, and grading of listed building and listed precincts, and there is also a provision, as we say, that one can sort of talk about that why and the overruling is possible, but some sort of a explanation has to be given. So, there is a restriction in regard to that. So, the final point, the grading of the listed building is a very important aspect of this declaration of the heritage precinct. Just declaring a heritage precinct is not enough. So, we see that there are certain things in Mumbai, we see that the fort area, there is the Bandra area which are a part and where metro rails are happening, different types of development happening. So, these part of restriction, control and also giving some sort of a incentive or compensating the people is very much a part of these heritage regulations. Now, we have been talking about the listing and the grading, which is also very important. You can, as I say, that in an declared precincts, not all the structures areas can be of heritage significance, is understood. So, there has to be a listing and there has to be a overall regulation bylaws for that area, what is possible, because even a new development is possible, redevelopment is possible, and some of the structures will have to, or areas or artifacts or spaces or sometimes a corridor or states have to be maintained. So, that is why the grading is important, and we have seen in case of Goa there are 5 types of categories. So, this grading varies from place to place. In case of Mumbai, and which has been adopted later on with the model heritage regulation, there are actually 3 and there is a subdivision of 1 grade. So, let us see the heritage grade 1. What is the definition? comprises buildings and pressings of national or historic importance, embodying excellence in architectural style. So, this has to be remembered, this is talking about the national or historic importance, is talking about the excellence in architectural style, design, technology and material uses and or aesthetics. They may be associated with a historic event, personality, movement or institution. They have been and are the prime landmarks of the region. All natural sites shall also fall within the grade 1. So, this definition is very important, that what is the definition of the grade 1, because as again and again I am saying all the structure pressings cannot be of the same value. And as you say that we have discussed the value, there are different types of values are also integrated as a part of the definition. Now, what is the objective? Objective is saying it richly deserves careful preservation. If the structured areas, sites, artifacts which are or spaces which are of grade 1 is saying it deserves careful preservation. That means, we just can't do whatever, like say for just repairing like that, or addition, alteration or changing the color, changing the material, is not there. It has to be carefully preserved. Let us talk about the grade 2. Definition is comprises buildings and pressings of regional or local importance possessing spatial architecture. So, it is saying spatial, in earlier case it was excellence. It says spatial architectural or aesthetic merit or architecture, cultural or historical significance, though of a lower scale than heritage grade 1. They are local landmarks. So, it is very important. Earlier it was talking of the national level, here they are talking about the local landmarks which contribute to the image and identity of the region. So, earlier it was a national, now it is talking about identity of the region of local landmarks. They may be the work of master craftsmen or may be models of proportion and ornamentation or designed to suit a particular climate. So, it is more taking care of the regional local issues, local importance and significance, and they are talking about the grade 2. What is the objective? Deserves intelligent conservation. In earlier cases say careful preservation, and in this case it intelligent conservation. So, that means some changes are permissible, but that also depends on how intelligently one can do about that, and it requires a lot of creativity, understanding the historical significance, heritage, not doing in an ad hoc manner. So, this is important for the grade 2 and grade 3. Grade 3 are generally for the group areas, townscape value. These are the that where a group of buildings, group of structures and areas together they make contribute to the significance. So, definition is that heritage grade 3 comprises buildings and pressings of importance for townscape. So, these one has to remember that townscape that evoke architectural, aesthetic or sociological interest. So, sociological also has been taken care of, though not as much as in the heritage grade 2. This contribute to determine the character of the locality. So, they are actually important because they can determine the character of the locality and can be representative of a lifestyle of a particular community. So, this is very important and may also be distinguished by setting or special character of the facade and uniformity of height, width and scale. So, grade 3 generally when there is a group value or town scale value, the reason may be different, reason may be color, reason may be townscape, the skyline, reason may be a craftsmanship, reason may be even a lifestyle of a community. So, these are coming under the grade 3, and Bombay actually has the 2 subdivision of grades also, but generally this is what is happening. So, objective is that objective also is deserve intelligent conservation, though on a lesser scale than grade 2, and spatial protection to unique features and attributes. This has to be noted, is talking about a spatial protection to unique features and attributes. So, that means if there are of certain areas which are of spatial features, maybe roof line, maybe color, maybe the facade treatment, maybe the setback. There may be various attributes which contribute to the spatial significance. So, that has to be preserved, and these are the cases where definitely addition alteration can be done inside adaptive reuse, and these are the three types of grades. So, grading, as I say, that to sum up, that there are a provision even in our Indian situations to take care of the heritage zones and heritage precincts under the special regulation under the Town and Country Planning Act. They are based on the example of Mumbai. The model heritage bylaws has been formulated by TCPO, and it gives entire framework that what is the precinct, how it has to be designated under the Town and Country Planning law. Now, how the conservation committee, what is the composition of the conservation committee, what are the bindings of the committee, and who has the power to relax that, listing, delisting, addition can be done by the listings in the listing, and there can be sort of sometimes we will talk about that how delisting is also done because of some pressure. We will see some cases. But what is more important is that what are the provision and what are the the listing and grading is important. As I say, the entire area, all the structure cannot be of the same value, same significance, and can have the same objective and same implication. So, we see that it is possible even within our town, and we have the cases there where it is possible to preserve the heritage zone and precinct. So, we will continue with that. One of the very important part which is coming out of the heritage zone precincts is that if there are the areas or there are the parts within that living area that new structures have to be built up, then what should be the criteria, whether it is possible to do when we declare as a heritage zone? Yes, it is possible, but we have to understand certain rules and regulations have to be there, understanding is there, the design sensitivity has to be there, that how these new infill or new buildings in historic settings or heritage zone can come up. Also, we have to understand that we are talking about the change, development and integration of conservation. So, the change means the change of definitely some cases the uses. So, many of the structures sort of probably adaptive to the new. So, what are the guidelines? So, in next lectures we will talk about the infill or new buildings in historic setting and adaptive reuse or rehabilitation of the heritage structure or heritage districts or heritage areas. Thank you.